So we have a really kind of a short agenda here. We've got some business that we want to accomplish. I'm glad to see that there's well over the required number of people to conduct business. Thank you all for showing up. And what's happening in this is a few months before the November election, and this is going to be a very interesting election because there are going to be 3, maybe 4 ballot measures that people can vote on that are all related to housing. Now, 2 of those measures, one is the Santa Cruz rent control that's made it onto the ballot, and we actually, our group endorsed that last November. Yay, rent control. And I'm going to be, down at the end, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the rent control. Also, recently got on the ballot, now designated as Proposition 10, is the repeal of Costa-Hawkins. And the way, what Costa-Hawkins does is it limits the ability of a local government to enact a good rent control ordinance. And so if we repeal that, it's basically a local control issue. It would allow a local city, voters in a local city, to establish a really robust rent control ordinance. And then there's 2 others. There's, I think, Proposition 1, it was also called SB3. That it was a Senate bill that the legislature put this on the ballot, and this is a bond measure called the Veterans and Affordable Housing Bond. It's going to be Proposition 1, and it would generate $4 billion for housing. And it the way bond measures work is they cobble together a whole wide variety of interest groups to, and they put in little pieces, little pockets of money for all these groups. So everybody says, oh yeah, we want to vote for that because we're going to get a piece of it. And, you know, fair amount of it is going to go for helping veterans get into housing. It's going to provide, it's going to build some affordable housing for working people. It's going to provide some other housing options for people, for homeless people and people without homes and people with disabilities. And then I think there's a little bit of money that, well, there's several other pockets, so it covers a lot of issues, but those are the main ones. Oh, there's also some money for first-time home buyers. And there's really, I haven't seen a lot of opposition, and there are a lot of groups, labor groups, business groups, environmental groups that are all supporting this measure. And so that's one of the housing bonds. And the other one is a local housing bond, which is not on the ballot yet. And if our county board of supervisors, probably in August, their August 7th meeting, if they decide to vote to put it on the ballot, then it will be on the ballot. That is a similar ballot measure to the state. It doesn't designate any money for veterans, but it does provide affordable rental housing. There is a home ownership fund to help people, first-time home buyers, and there's a fund to provide housing for homeless people. And then there's what some people have described as sort of a slush fund, which they call the Innovation and Opportunity Fund, which will provide some money for new ideas that maybe haven't been figured out yet, that may come up in the future. The state bond measure is $4 billion, and Santa Cruz County is 1% of the state population, so that would be like $40 million for Santa Cruz County if it were divided up evenly. The local housing measure could be as much as $250 million, but there's still discussions and negotiations going on, it might be half that much. And that's going to be divided into the 5 jurisdictions, the cities of Santa Cruz, Capitola, Scotts Valley, and Watsonville, and then the unincorporated county. So Santa Cruz would get a small piece of that. That's, you know, I don't know a whole lot of detail. That's kind of what I discovered on the website. I was wondering if anybody had anything they wanted to add to what I spoke about, or anything that, yeah, Brett, I know you've studied.
I'll just, No, I'll just say that last night I received a phone call from a surveyor asking me all kinds of questions about the possible county initiative, and, you know, was I concerned about my own housing situation? Did I have friends that were concerned about housing? So if you get one of those survey calls, it may be really important to provide some answers to those questions. I mean, my first impulse was, I don't want to deal with this, but as we got into the conversation, I'm like, well, they're asking that about a really important issue.
Thanks for doing that.
Right. Well, I don't know if you could tell in my tone, I was trying to present them in a positive light, because I think, well, do we have a housing crisis in California?
Yes!
Do we have a housing crisis locally?
Yes!
We do.
And would a little money possibly help?
Yeah.
Would anyone like to express a negative opinion about either of these proposals?
It's what happened in Los Angeles, that they got $1.2 billion for a bond for helping the homeless. And it was awesome, right? And what happened was the NIMBYism. So in Venice, which had 80%, I think it was 80% of the yes votes for the 1.2 billion bond. And so they said, perfect, we'll build the place in Venice, only to get sued by the people in Venice. So it's, so even if we got the money, and I'm not saying I'm for it, against it, I'll probably vote for it. I'm just saying, you know, I don't know how to get past the NIMBYism.
Okay, well, NIMBYism is going to be maybe a future problem we'll deal with. So, on the first one, the state Proposition 1, title of which is Veterans and Affordable Housing Bond. We wanted to have this meeting, you know, well ahead of the election, so to give our membership the chance to weigh in on some of these issues. And so we're prepared to take an endorsement vote. Now, to vote in for Santa Cruz Bernie, to take an endorsement vote, we have to have 20 Santa Cruz for Bernie members, and we certainly have that. And to be eligible to vote, you have to be a member of Santa Cruz for Bernie for at least 60 days. Very low bar. All you have to do is say you want to be on the RSVP.
Mike went dead. You pulled it out. Probably pulled it out.
Oh yeah, you stepped on it.
It's not working? It's not working?
Is it still connected? Yeah.
Not working.
Does it have a switch on the mic?
Okay, well,
Yeah. We'll hear you.
Maybe turn it on and then off.
right. I like this battery, but it says the battery's still good. Oh,
There
we go. Okay, I'm back on.
Responded. Appropriate.
Okay, so
No?
run away again.
It just might be a short.
Is it connected?
A short.
Yeah.
Try not to step on it.
All right.
Plug it in and unplug it and plug it back in.
Okay, I'll just yell. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So eligibility, you have to be a Bernie member to vote. A lot of you look familiar. If you're from out of town, you just signed up today, don't vote. But otherwise, I'm not going to. We did have some voting cards. I don't think we're going to need to be that formal. My guess is that these votes are not going to be close. Okay, to endorse a measure or candidate, we have to have 2/3. Yeah. So on the state Proposition 1, is there? How many people would like Santa Cruz for Bernie to endorse Proposition 1?
Is that the veterans one?
State housing bond.
Veterans.
Yeah.
Better get it right.
Called officially
The veterans and affordable housing bond.
Veterans and Affordable Housing Bond. Okay. All right, good. Some people actually using your voting cards. Okay.
Anybody say no?
How many opposed? How many opposed to that? I see none.
Yep,
Okay.
that's unanimous to me.
How many abstentions? Are there any abstentions? Okay, there's an abstention. All right, that one passes. Okay, the second one, the local housing bond measure, it's not even on the ballot. So it's not really appropriate for us because we're not sure of the details yet, right? What I would suggest, if people think, if you have an interest in money for housing, I would ask the group, would you be willing to empower our steering committee to follow this closely, and if it seems to meet the criteria that, you know, Bernie people, sort of the Bernie philosophy endorses, if you would be willing, you could empower the steering committee to make a later endorsement once we find out if it's on the ballot. Is there any interest in that? How many people would support that kind of motion?
Can I ask a question, Jeffrey?
Yes, you certainly
Could
can.
it also be that once we know whether it's going to move forward or not, that the membership take an electronic vote and endorse at that time, in case the language changes?
Well, the language is not even set yet.
Right. I mean, I've read what the tentative language is, so I don't know what. But that's what I'm curious about, is if there can be a vote once there is more solidity, or do we need to vote today and then it's to give authority?
Well,
I'm just curious.
The way it's set up, the only way we can do an endorsement, but we haven't established a procedure for doing an electronic vote. We would have to hold another meeting. We don't hold a lot of meetings, so we just thought, can we take care of it?
Okay.
We would publicize the fact that now it's set and the steering committee is going to consider it. We can certainly send out an announcement, say, okay, we're about to make a decision, weigh in on how, you know, it won't be a vote, but we'll ask for input. Would that satisfy you?
Yeah, I mean, really, I was just curious what all of the options were, so I appreciate that.
Right. It's new territory.
I appreciate it.
Sally.
Yeah, so, and anybody is welcome to come to our steering committee, right? Then maybe they won't be able to vote, but they could come. And then we would have the language where you could click on it and see the whole thing for ourselves. I mean, if anybody has any opposition, we could just get an email or that. I don't know. It's just an idea.
Good point. If we get to that point.
Because the steering committee does meet more regularly.
Right. We don't generally publicize the steering committee meetings. If you want to know about the steering committee, you just have to say, tell me about the steering committee meetings. But on this vote, we can agree to announce when that steering committee meeting will be to the general.
I think that's just an idea.
Good idea. Transparency, democracy, hey, right? Like
yeah.
that. Okay. Well, it looked to me like, did I finish? Any people opposed to having the steering committee deal with the local housing? Okay, I think we're done with the ballot measure endorsements.
Have we already endorsed the Costa Hawkins?
We did in March.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's important.
What about bail reform? We're not dealing with the bail reform proposition. I think it's a proposition or bail, or maybe it's.
Is it going to be a proposition? I don't know.
Oh, you might be right. It just might be in the bill.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
Adam.
I just want to ask, and I'll be as brief as you need me to be. I didn't know we were going to do candidate endorsements today, or I would have requested that the Cabrillo board be one of the considerations for today. Right. I don't know if it's too late in hearing you say that you don't have a policy for electronic endorsements. I'd hate to lose out on the opportunity.
Right.
So I don't know what could be considered in the next 20 or so seconds till the
well,
City Council
unfortunately, we can't deal with it today because we're required to give a week's notice. Right. And I'm sorry, our communication is by email sometimes. Who gets a lot of email? Who misses emails once in a while? I'm really sorry.
And the Facebook was 0
right.
today.
Apparently the Facebook didn't. There may be a reason to call another endorsement meeting later, because we're certainly not dealing with all the issues and candidates today. Right.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're ready to move on to city council candidates. And we have two candidates, Drew and Justin, here from the city of Santa Cruz, and we also have Jenny Sarmiento back here and Lowell Hearst from the city of Watsonville. And so we're going to give each person a few minutes to speak, and I'll see if I can work on the microphone.
I've got one in my car. You want me to go get it? It'd be about 5 minutes.
That would be helpful, yeah.
Okay.
Drew, do you think that you need to run? Drew, get your tongue. You're ferocious.
I know, he's a guard dog.
I'm wiggling these things, and maybe it's coming back. We'll see.
Just don't touch the wire. Leave it alone. Okay, it works.
We already endorsed Drew at our March meeting, so we don't have to do any endorsement vote here. We're going to get an update, and you might be interested in taking some Q&A.
Absolutely.
But all right, take it away.
Drew Glover. Hey, everybody. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Santa Cruz for Bernie. It's wonderful to be here with everyone. So updates and Q&A, I can do that. I can deal. We started the process of getting ramped up for City Council last year, right? As a lot of you know, I ran in 2016, came within 1% of winning, right? That's over 10,000 people that voted for progressive politics, along with all of the other people from brand new council, which was landmarkish, right? Really enjoyed that experience. And so coming back again, starting in August, we've been kind of laying the groundwork, and especially some of you most likely have seen our campaign video, the newest one, or the two new ones, which outline our new strategy. So we're trying to transition away from money in politics and trying to transition into public engagement in local politics. So that moves away from trying to solicit contributions and donations and moves towards trying to solicit involvement, physical involvement in campaigns, because we love when people give money to us. But that is just the beginning of your engagement in the political process, right? We want people out there knocking on doors, making phone calls, helping with strategy, coming to meetings. And so far, it's been fantastic. We have an amazing team of individuals that are made up intergenerationally, interracial background, different genders and identities, all working together, meeting every Monday at 6 p.m. at the Resource Center for Nonviolence to engage in strategizing and coming up with innovative solutions to problems that are posed by trying to transition this new form of politics, right? Revolutionizing politics in Santa Cruz. So what does that look like? Well, we're not only trying to knock on every door in Santa Cruz, not just political affiliations that are or known voters, but we want to talk to everyone because there is a desire for change. I've already been walking neighborhoods and talking to people, and it has been amazing with the response. Did this stop?
Yeah.
It stopped. It's just for looks now. You don't need it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. It's amazing the response that we get when we talk to people at the door. People that you would potentially consider conservative, right? That we're talking to, and they're expressing their concerns. And while we don't see eye to eye on everything, there are some things that we see very much eye to eye on, with the responsibility of development in the community and the representation of the want to see our city grow, right? The benefits / programs that are there to help our underserved communities. And a lot of times you hear the term underserved, but I'm going to use the term poor, right? Because there are a lot of poor people in Santa Cruz, and there are a lot of working poor people in Santa Cruz. When you hear underserved communities, you often think of minority communities or different gender identities, but in reality, poor people make up a vast population in the county, especially in the county, and especially in Santa Cruz, with regards to lack to living wages, lack to affordable housing, lack of access to services, food, nutrition, food justice. So all of these issues are very relevant across the board, and people are aware of them and talking about them at the door, which gives us this fantastic opportunity to act as a unifying force with this campaign, because we're not only radically sustainable, but we're people-oriented. So we're trying to bring people together across political divides, across partisan divides, across racial divides, across gender divides. Champion. Ooh. Ooh. All right. It even has this whole little thing. I love it. So the process has been great. We have yard signs, right? And so that was something that was posing a concern for a lot of people of how are we going to do yard signs if we're trying to be sustainable. And so the way that we worked it out was one of the previous candidates during the primary elections gave us about, I'm going to say about 200 signs. Pretty sweet. But how are we going to use them, right? Because, oh my God, they're this weird plastic and stuff. So we did this. This is made with roll-on paint and a stencil. Pretty great. Brett was there for some of the creation process. And so we've worked through some of the different beta testing to figure out the kinks and iron out some of the problems. And so we're going to move forward with creating a bunch more of these stencils and putting together work events, work days, work parties. Yeah, I like parties. To make more of these signs. Like I said, we're walking neighborhoods. That needs to ramp up. As you already know, with politics in general, it's not only the literature that we're handing out, but it's the relationships that we're building with people at those front doors and out in the community. So being able to make sure that we have a strong canvassing force for the campaign, because we want to talk to everybody. That's where all of y'all come in. We need support. You know, I'm not going to ask you for money, like I said before, because that's the usual fit. But this requires engagement. And in order to do that, it requires dedication and investment of time and energy. And I know that a lot of us are working 2 or 3 jobs. We have families, we're going to school, all that other kind of stuff. So even if you can't come out and physically engage with the campaign, we want you to help to spread the message. So that's sharing things online digitally for those of you that use social media. If you don't use social media, send it out in emails. If you don't have emails, let's coordinate a meet and greet party where we can get together with your friends and family, community members, co-workers, and talk about the issues that are important and make things happen moving forward. Let's see, how much time do I have?
4.5.
4.5 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and I'm going to field some questions, but first I do want to share a quick story. I was up yesterday in Oakland at the California State Democratic Party convention, which was great, right? And also Kevin De Leon got the endorsement, so can we get a round of, yes, Kevin De Leon. Amazing stuff. And just the energy there, the focus on grassroots campaigning, and the unity between grassroots candidates and people that are trying to bring progressive politics into the mainstream of the Democratic Party. It was amazing. I got to go to the Unbossed after party that was put on by Kimberly Ellis. If anybody y'all know Kimberly Ellis. It was unbelievable getting to listen to senators speak about the importance of working together in this amazing museum environment with people dancing and laughing and having fun and engaging in conversation around political progress and moving forward. So that's the kind of energy I'd love to see in Santa Cruz moving forward, this passionate, engaged, electrified population of people that are ready to get out there and make change happen. So, who's got a question?
I do.
Yes.
Underserved, thank you. An underserved population that I work with and that I am also a member of is people living with mental illness. And we're talking about homelessness. That's a huge factor, and mentioning NIMBY is you know, that's part of what people like don't want to make housing for homeless people, because they're like, that's going to be a bunch of crazy people living next to me, you know? So what are some of your ideas for addressing the mentally ill population, and especially homeless people dealing with mental illness and dual diagnosis, substance abuse, and the like.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's a fantastic question. It comes down to budget, right? And money, and where we can get the money from, and how we're allocating the money. For those of you that know, I work at the Resource Center for Nonviolence and train in Kingian philosophy, so the ideology and methodology of Dr. Martin Luther King. And one of his quotes that I always go back to is that a budget is a moral document, right? The way that we structure how we spend our money illustrates the priorities and the principles that we have as a city. So, are we using the money that we have currently in the most effective way to address those kinds of issues that you brought up? And how vigorously and adamantly are we working with the county and the state to make sure that we have additional funds coming in? I was just talking to Rocco, where is he? Over there, who is running for a school board, right? In where?
Santa Cruz City School.
Santa Cruz City School Board, and talking about how we can get more money for mental health issues in schools, especially starting young and making sure that we're identifying them before they exacerbate into future stuff. And there's the possibility, I mean, I know that Watsonville or Pajaro Valley has been working with Pajaro Valley or PVPSA, right? To get more money. And so we need to establish that kind of a structure here in Santa Cruz to be able to generate money from the county and from the state, but also look at the ways that we're using the money that we currently have and finding out more effective ways to use it. Like these signs, for example. This is more than a repurposed yard sign. This is a symbol of a thought process that we want to see instilled in City Council. Once these are done, they'll cost about 1/3 of the cost of the signs that we would have put out there, and they aren't introducing new plastic into the environment. We can take that same kind of model, thank you, and put it on top of the tent camp that they have on River Street that they're spending $90,000 a month on. So $90,000 a month, what?
I thought it's 9,000.
$90,000 a month. And that is to tent 50 people, right? It's a lot of money. Where is all that money going? It's 60 people? 60 people. I'll leave 10 more. That money is mainly going towards enforcement and patrol, right? Because it's 24-hour first alarm, it's patrols of police officers that are there, and it is paying the hosts to host the space as well. What are some more creative ways that we can be using that money? And that's the question that we need to look at the entire budget, not only just with houselessness and with mental health issues, but with programs like the Community Bridges program that just got cut $25,000 while they simultaneously put $50,000 into a mountain bike pump track. Those are not the principles or values that I think make Santa Cruz, and those are not the principles and values that I bring to City Council. My time is up, I believe. So thank you. And let's do this in November.
Jeffrey's got to eat. Now, next we have, I guess, Justin Cummings is one of the candidates for Santa Cruz City Council, and Faz has come here. I guess are you his campaign organizer? Because, well, you tell him. Justin works really hard, and what's he doing right now?
I could.
Yep.
Hello, everybody. Good to see everyone again. My name is Faz. A lot of you know me. For those of you who don't, I'm a local activist here, and I am working on Justin Cummings' campaign for Santa Cruz City Council. We formally announced in July, early July, late June, and so we've just been kind of moving forward. And so Justin couldn't be here, unfortunately, because he's working for the Doris Duke. He works up on campus for the Doris Duke nonprofit foundation. It's a nonprofit scholarship fund for students to improve diversity in the environmental conservation field. So every year they pick 20 folks and they go out and do field surveys over the summer. So unfortunately, as part of his work, he couldn't be here today, but he sends his regards. So just a little bit about Justin. Justin was born and raised in Chicago. He's lived here in Santa Cruz for about 8 years. And I think a lot of his activism really comes from campus and doing a lot of campus work. Justin led the fair trade campaign up on campus to get 90% of our coffee from fair trade, being adopted as fair trade instead of going from companies that are exploiting people and destroying the natural forests in Central America and in South America. So he's been involved in a lot of those campaigns. He was involved in basically currently wears nonprofit Doris Duke. So he's been doing a lot of that recently. And so more recently, in terms of the community and being involved with the community, he was working on the rent control campaign, which he supports the rent control ballot measure. And so he was working, gathering petitions, helping the campaign do that. So he's been really active on that campaign up until June, where he finally decided to run for city council. And so I think Justin really, his heart is in the right place. And some of the things that he really highlights as part of his campaign is a lack of transparency in our city council. Really bringing some of that transparency and including more voices in local government is something that he's really big on. Community safety and stability. From his experience here, seeing how bad the homeless population, how bad it's gotten in terms of the homelessness crisis and affordable housing, really providing more mental services for the community here is kind of one thing that he's really big on. And I think also, instead of as Drew mentioned, Drew put it pretty eloquently, right? Instead of having more enforcement, we should actually be finding ways to house these people and take care of them and kind of reintegrate them into the community. So those are kind of some of the things that, in terms of community safety. In terms of affordable housing, Justin's really big on affordable housing. I think he understands that developers are getting away with not making this a community for the people who actually live and work here, but rather a community for the wealthy folks over the hill who are contributing to the gentrification here in the city. And so, he does support the rent control movement, but he also supports actually building affordable housing, right? So maintaining the inclusionary zoning and actually, really, in a sense, really making developers build some kind of affordable housing here, because market rate housing, as we've seen, is not a solution to fixing our crisis here, right? So those are some of the things that he supports in terms of housing. And so the final part really of his platform is also sustainable development. So making sure that the development we're building in Santa Cruz is sustainable and that it represents, kind of the values of the community, right? So not just building this mixed use housing, mixed use projects that are really more benefiting the business community and not the people who actually live and work here. So those are kind of some of the things. We're still working on the platform a little bit. We haven't perfected it, but that's kind of cool. Thank you. That's kind of where he's at right now, and we would love to get the support of Santa Cruz for Bernie. Bernie put it himself. We need more people running on the local level, so he's kind of answering that call and stepped up to run in 2018. So, any questions?
Now Q&A.
Q&A. Oh, that was 1 minute until Q&A. Okay. So do folks have any questions about Justin or about the campaign?
When will we be able to see him?
He gets back on Friday, actually. Yeah, so he'll be here from the window from Friday. He's going to be gone a lot, unfortunately, in July because of his work. I think, and so he'll be back from the 21st to the 23rd, and then after August 2nd, he'll be back in the community.
And I know that Jeffrey did send out Jeffrey did send out to the email list, so you should have gotten it, a description from Justin about who he is and what he's done, and also a very handsome photo of himself. So hopefully you all, who got that? Or maybe some few people. Yeah. So it's in one of the, maybe Jeffrey, can you send that out again at some point? Yeah, because we can't see him, and we can't, yeah. Okay.
Hey Faz, when's the kickoff party? How do people get invited for it?
Yeah, so our kickoff party is, I don't know if there's probably not any space right here, but it's August 11th, Saturday, August 11th. Maybe, I don't know, could I write it maybe in like right here or something, or a possibility? So it's August 11th, Saturday, 3 to 5 p.m. at the house of Sarah Ringler's house. It's same place where Sandy Brown had her launch party. It's on the east side and 357 Parkway. I'll write the details here. So y'all are invited. Let me know if you can make it. We're keeping track of RSVPs, but hopefully we'll see you there. And and we are raising money. So if you feel like making a donation today, you can do that, or you can do that at the launch party. So, do folks have any other questions about his campaign or about No.
Can you give me the address again?
Yeah, it's I'll write it right here. It's 357 Parkway. It's on the east side. So, yeah.
And the date?
August 11th. Saturday, August 11th, 3 o'clock. At 357.
Jeffrey can send that information out.
Okay. That also works. I'll write it down here just in case. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Well, hopefully we can get your endorsements. We really have an opportunity to take over the council in 2018, so hopefully we can get your support and really get this thing going and get both Drew and Justin elected. So.
I have a phone here that's got a little horse and a rainbow on the back. Does this belong to anybody here? It was
Lost and found. Found right away.
Okay, I'd like to invite Jenny Sarmiento up here. We had a very brief background on you in our email, so I think you better start from scratch because people probably don't know you too well.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you and give you a little bit of information about myself. My name is Jenny Sarmiento. I live in Watsonville. I'm running for Watsonville City Council. When I was 12 years old, I came to the U.S. with my mom and my 3 siblings from Bolivia, South America, to meet my dad, who was already here, working here. And I grew up in Southern California. I went to Southern California schools where I had the opportunity to attend schools, middle school and high school with people from all over the world. And I was so fascinated with the different cultures and traditions that it really inspired me to go into sociology and learn more about people and traditions. When I was growing up, I have a sister who is special needs, and throughout the years when my parents passed away, I became her legal guardian and caretaker, and she lives with me. And so with that, I feel that it's really given me an opportunity to understand people. For most of my professional life, I've worked in the nonprofit, public health, mental health services field. And Drew mentioned I worked at Baja Valley Prevention and Student Assistance, worked with many families throughout the district, children and youth, around issues of mental health, substance abuse, any kind of family issue and support that they needed. So I'm very familiar with those things. And so when I was growing up, I was a single parent to one child, and while I was raising her, I was attending college when tuition was very affordable, and I was very fortunate to be able to do that. Also, I was able to buy a home as a single income person at a time that it was possible, which right now, unfortunately, is impossible for most of our children and, the future generations. They will not be able to live in our community, which is really sad because we, as we get older, we definitely want to have our families close by. Currently, I serve on the Planning Commission. I was the chair of the Planning Commission. I've been on the commission for the last 4 or 5 years and have worked on several issues around housing, around mental health services. Cell towers are always popular. But also, it's given me an opportunity to really look at how we plan for the city, for the new development, for all the different programs. And I really feel that it's time for me to bring in together my social services experience and nonprofit experience, human services, and education along to the city council to be able to work on policies that really work for the community, for the families that represent. Especially in Watsonville, we have a working class population that is really important for us to provide those kind of services and provide those opportunities for them and their families. So I would very much, be grateful and honored to have the Bernie endorsement. I was so excited when Bernie talked about healthcare and education for all. That was one of the things that, as I was growing up, it was always very important to me, because I felt that an education was an economic equalizer, and healthcare also makes it possible for those children and families to be present in school and also to be able to go to their work. Another thing that is really important to me right now is the transportation issue. I believe that we have to keep all our options open when it comes to transportation. I believe that we should keep the rail and trail option open, because we're talking about South County working families having access to work in Santa Cruz, and it takes people over an hour, 2 hours to get to and from Watsonville. So I would really encourage you to support that measure, and thank you so much.
Q&A?
Yes.
5 minutes Q&A.
Okay. Does anybody have a question? Yes.
Hi.
Thank you.
My friend has a 16-year-old daughter.
I love hearing about your experience, by the way. It's
Thank
amazing. My friend has a 16-year-old daughter who's really politically active and does nonprofit work, and she took the bus out to Watsonville, and my friend was saying, well, I'm scared for her walking down the street in her little shorts, So, how would you address sexual assault and violence against women as a woman?
Thank you for that question. Well, I think that's a big issue for any kind of female walking in any street, whether it's in Santa Cruz, Watsonville, California, anywhere. We've seen it happen here in Santa Cruz, where somebody was walking down the street and she was assaulted. What I would like to say is that Watsonville is perceived perhaps as not a safe community, and that is so false.
Yes. That's what I told her too. That's
such a false statement. Watsonville, I would encourage you, if you've never been to Watsonville, please come and join us, especially in the summertime. We have the second Thursday of the month, I think it is. We have concert in the park, and please come out and see. Our community is helpful, is polite. I won't say that we don't have incidents. Every city has incidents. Unfortunately, they taint that picture. But Watsonville is safe, is welcoming, it's a thriving community. Thank you. Yes.
Yes, I just went and campaigned. I got people to sign my petition for healthcare for all, for Medicare for all, Senate Bill 562, to release it from the horizontal in Watsonville at the City Plaza, and the farmers market is all around it. And people were super nice. I mean, I kind of stuck out like Martha. I mean, like, look at me. But really nice, really kind, signed my petition. My Spanish is terrible and really fumbled around. People were very kind. This concert that you have, I would love to attend that. Is that in City Plaza?
It's in the plaza.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The second Thursday. Second and fourth.
Second and fourth Thursday. Second and fourth Thursday.
Yes.
What time? Every
6.
Friday at the farmer's market, but 5:30 is a good time to get there.
Yes. Bring your chair.
Bring your chair.
Yes. We have one more question?
Well, I got a question. I just want to remember who else is running in your district. Just so
In my district?
Yeah.
I'm the only one running. No, I'm not sure. We're no, I'm just kidding. It's only me. So tomorrow we get to pull papers. As far as I know, I'm the best candidate for my district. Yes, Jeffrey.
Quick question on housing. You were talking about the housing issues in Watsonville as well as other places. What's your feeling about rent control for Watsonville?
Well, that's something that I think that we need to look at all over the county. It is a big issue for everyone, especially, I mean, the rents in Watsonville are just as high as here in the city of Santa Cruz. You know, and then you have people who are making less money and living 2 families per house structure. So I would support rent control as long as the people also understand what it means. And I believe that we have to give our residents more information about every issue that comes up. Last question? Yes.
I've been a public health nurse, and I've been a public health nurse, and I'm curious how we're going to change this progressive motto of healthcare for all, because you're running for city council. It seems like it's going to be it has to be a statewide proposition. And how do you think you could, as a city council member, impact a statewide movement?
That's a very long question, but I would say I would work really closely with my fellow council members to be able to get that support and to get that buy-in. Fortunately, I've been working really closely with most of our council members, and I believe that we would have the support to go ahead and support an initiative, or and then along with the rest of the county to be as one, to work as one. But I think one of the things that we can do even before that, because I believe that that project, that goal is going to take a little bit longer than we want, I think that we need to work more closely with the county mental health and children's mental health to be able to access more Medi-Cal paid benefits for all our young people in school so they can get prevention services. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Next up, Lowell Hearst, running for City Council in Watsonville. Just wanted to mention these members in Watsonville are running in separate districts. They have district elections for council, quite different than how we do it here at Santa Cruz. Go ahead, take it away, Lowell.
Well, thank you very much, Jeffrey, and thank you for inviting me here today. And I'm glad to see several old friends and amigos from Santa Cruz. You know, I'm a recycled candidate. I've been elected before. In fact, I've been elected 4 times to the city council, and so, you know, I have a track record. You can look at it, you can like it, you can not like it, you can say, hey, here's some improvements you can make, Hearst. But my background is in agriculture. I was an agricultural public school teacher. I taught agriculture at the high school for 30 years. And so I know a little bit something about the industry there and its faults and its promises as well. But I know something about students and what the needs in Watsonville really are. And so I'm looking for your support here today, and I want to endorse Jenny Sanamento. Jenny's going to bring a fresh voice to the council, and sometimes we need a refreshment at the council. We need one after the meeting, that's for sure. You know, I think, you know, my background as a teacher and as someone who have worked in the community for 30 years, I think I've got my finger on the pulse sometimes, but sometimes the pulse is a little weak. You know, we've got some enemies out there in the community, and 2 of them are apathy and indifference. And apathy and indifference are what sometimes shape the agenda rather than what we want to do. And so I think it's important to reach out, to build new alliances, to have a view of the future that is inclusive and representative of what the real needs of the community really are. And you don't get that until you are embedded in the community and that you know what people are thinking, want, and like. And so I think that's the strength that I bring to the council. I said before, I have been elected 4 times on it, you know, the 3 times as the mayor. And you know what they say when 3 times, you're 3 times and you're out, or 3 times is a lucky number. And so I'm hoping this will be a lucky number for me. I don't want to get in between you and a glorious evening here. So I'll just cut it off here and take any questions you might have. But I really do thank you very much for allowing me to come here. You might remember that you have some friends in Watsonville. You remember Felipe Hernandez that appeared and introduced Bernie. And so Felipe has endorsed me, and he's a good friend, and I've worked on his campaigns and many other people as well. And so I want you to remember that there is a presence in Watsonville. There's a place for Bernie in Watsonville, and I hope that you'll make a place for me here with your endorsement. Thank you. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the problem of apathy of the people. I think a large part of that comes from the lack of transparency. The people don't have a clue of what's going on behind the closed doors of the elected office holders when they're meeting with the lobbyists. And so we're cut out. We're just spectators. The citizen has no real status as a participant in government. All we have is we hear the announcement of the new laws after they take place. And what do you think about requiring all office holders to wear cameras and microphones at all times? They're talking about public business, just the same way we want cops to.
Sounds like a great idea. I have it in my phone in my pocket, and I'm recording myself all the time. No, I'm just kidding. You know, I think that there's always issues of privacy, but when you're in public office, and you know, I wouldn't know what exactly you're saying because I get about 15 or 20 phone calls a day. People are knocking on my door. People are writing me letters and suggestions and ideas and criticism as well. So I think that there is a undercurrent of public acknowledgement, but at the same time, you know, the elected officials, they need to be a little bit more open and transparent, as you said, but the public are the ones that really need to step up with their questions. And we have a lineup at our microphone twice a month for public people that want to speak, and sometimes they really come and give it to us too. And so I think that your point is valid, that there needs to be more transparency in public office, but I don't think we need to wear a camera or be recorded all the time.
Only when you're talking about public business. How's that?
You know, I think that our meetings are publicly broadcasted, and that's where we do our public work in front of the public. And so there's a record, there's a transcription, it's on film, anybody can watch it. So, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry if I missed it. What was your main platform?
My main platform is accountability and service to the public. You know, as a public school teacher, I had to serve the public every day. And so to be available, to be transparent, to promote affordable housing, to promote jobs and economic opportunities, to make sure that folks can live in our community and thrive. That's my platform.
Lowell, I don't have to ask you about your support for working people because I see you out on the union picket lines whenever there's one in town. But I did want to ask you the same question I asked Jenny about what do you think about rent control in Watsonville?
Well, there's certainly a lot of landlords making big money all over the Central Coast, and it's not just a Watsonville issue. And I don't know if we can solve these multi-jurisdictional problems with just one vote of the City Council or one vote of a Board of Supervisors. But I think it's a good topic for discussion. I don't own any rental property. I don't rent from anybody, and so I would want to see the voters weigh in and see what they have to think about it. And I think it's an uphill battle in many respects, but I think the issue is big, and not everybody can make the rent, unfortunately. And so, you know, there's a lot of special interests there. I think that, you know, we need to have more public discussion, and well-paying jobs are what I would like to see, as well as in addition to affordable housing.
Any other questions for Lowell?
Again, thank you for allowing me to be here and appear before you today. You do have friends in Watsonville. Don't forget them.
Okay, well, those are the candidates that we invited to speak to you today. Now we're going to see if we can do some sort of an endorsement vote on these candidates who've spoken to you. As I mentioned before, Drew Glover already got our endorsement in March, and I would be open to any motion from the floor about endorsements for any of these candidates that we've heard from. Yes, Sally.
I move we endorse Justin Cummings. Is that what you're wanting?
Sure. Okay. We've got a proposal here to endorse Justin Cummings for the City of Santa Cruz City Council in the November election. Anyone like to? Take over the City Council. Yeah. Does anyone like to speak on that topic?
I thought positive.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to speak fast?
I want to make it friendly.
Yeah.
Maybe if we could
All three?
do all three.
Yes.
I mean,
All right.
I know people don't feel like they're
Right.
I'd be happy supporting.
Okay.
I'll make that proposal. Yeah.
Okay.
All three of them sound
So first and seconded, no discussion.
Motion has been revised to endorse all three at once. Justin Cummings and then Jenny Sarmiento and Lowell Hearst for their respective city council districts in Watsonville. Well, it looks like you're all anxious to vote for it. So let me just hold them up and let me just count for here for a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 16, 17, 18, 26. Looks like 26. Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Oh, unanimous vote. Wow. And we needed 20 votes, at least 20, and we got it. So, well, that was a pretty simple process. Well, you have to appreciate the leadership of our steering committee and our officers that only sought to present to you people that we thought you might like. Okay, well, we're down to the end here. I know there's a couple of candidates in the room here who we didn't have the foresight to invite you to participate in the endorsement forum. Adam and City Council, I forget your name? Rocco, yes. I would like to offer you a couple of minutes just to talk about your candidacy. And
and is there anyone else we don't know about?
oh, are there any other candidates here? I'm not aware. Okay.
Thanks, I'll try to be brief too. My name is Adam Spickler. I have lived in Santa Cruz County for 26 years. I am a graduate of Cabrillo College. I went through the school. It took me about 8 years to get my 2-year degree. I worked full-time in early childhood education. and was able to put myself through school. I got a lot out of Cabrillo. It allowed me to become a child care center director, and I did that for about 6 years, and then I went on to, from there, to work for John Laird when he was in the State Assembly as his district staff, and then Bill Monning through his time in the Assembly and his first year in the Senate as senior district staff for him. I got hired about 5 years ago by the County of Santa Cruz Human Services Department, and I am managing about $10 million in contracts for child welfare, housing support, and employment services. In my purview, from the work I do with nonprofit partners managing these contracts for human services, I see how critical it is that we have a place where people can go to get what they need for professional opportunities so that they can find work and live sustainably in Santa Cruz County. Cabrillo has long been the place in Santa Cruz County where folks go. I had a kickoff event a few weeks ago, and Mike Schulman, who's on the Scotts Valley City Council, brought the program, Scotts Valley School Board, the program from Scotts Valley High School graduation, and showed me that 50% of Scotts Valley graduates are going to Cabrillo College in the fall. Cabrillo is a really important place. I have a lot to bring, and I also have a fresh perspective because of being a marginalized student at Cabrillo. None of the trustees at Cabrillo College actually attended the school as a student. I think it's important to have that kind of reputation on the board of trustees. That's what I bring. I invite you to go to my website, adamspickler.org, and look me up and ask me any other questions, because I'm guessing I only have about 5 seconds left. But I hope that whether it's as Santa Cruz for Bernie or as individuals, you will support me, because I think I have a lot to bring to Cabrillo.
I do too. Will you run for again? I'm sorry.
Cabrillo College Board of Trustees.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, District 2.
District 2 covers what area?
Oh boy, that's harder to answer. From Beach Hill up through past Emmeline, so the east side of Santa Cruz through Midtown over to 17th, up through Prospect Heights, lower Santa Cruz Gardens, but not upper, all of Pasatiempo, Happy Valley, a portion of Scotts Valley, almost into Soquel up to the Los Gatos border.
Nobody in Felton.
Just a bit, nobody in Felton.
Okay.
So unfortunately, not out. We won't all get to vote for Adam.
Right.
No.
Okay, Rocco.
Okay, thank you for giving me some time. So my name is Rocco Capella, and I live here in the city of Santa Cruz. So I'm running for the Santa Cruz City Schools Board. So Santa Cruz City Schools actually covers all the way out to Soquel. So everyone who goes to Soquel High School, Harbor High School, and Santa Cruz High School are part of the Santa Cruz City School District. There's 72,000 registered voters in that area, and it turns out that basically my name goes out to the 72,000. Person I'm also running with is Abe Wolcott over here. So we're running as a platform. So that's the district. Now, in terms of there's some questions that, in the discussion here around mental health issues. There's also some discussion around affordable jobs of the future. So I want to talk about those two things because those are two of our major platforms. And so the first one is that Santa Cruz City Schools could do a better job of making sure that we have mental health services for our students. Jenny Sarmiento over here talked about how she was the head of Pajaro Valley Prevention. We want to think about a model like that in terms of how do we get better services into the schools. And as a board member, I would advocate that the board appoint a committee of the right people to figure out, what is the right model for the schools, because we need more mental health services in the schools. The second issue is jobs of the future. Abe is a professor of chemistry over at San Jose State. He sees what a lot of these jobs are. Abe and I work on a Computer Science for All grant that was part of the Obama administration. It was a $300,000 grant to get more computer science in the schools and to help train our kids so they can get the jobs of the future. So those are two of the big issues that we're running on. I would, if it works for the Bernie group, it would be great if we could circle back and see about getting an endorsement. We would love that. The reason why I'm here is because, like many of you, I walked precincts in 2016 for Bernie, mostly in the Watsonville area. And as you remember, Bernie reminded us in his last speech about getting involved. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you so much, Rocco and Adam. Okay, we're getting close to the end of the meeting here. I just wanted to say, spend a few more minutes on the Santa Cruz Rent Control and Tenant Protection Act. A local group, including a lot of Bernie people, formed the Movement for Housing Justice, and we wrote a ballot measure, and we submitted it for petitions. We circulated petitions for about 90 days and really pushed hard and got 10,000 signatures, and certainly we're well over the number required to get it on the ballot. It's going to be on the ballot now. If you think that was a tough effort to get the signatures, that's just the beginning, because now we're facing a very well organized and well funded opposition with a lot of funding from the California Apartment Association, people who don't want to see their ability to get rich off of tenants. They don't want to see that challenged at all. And so I just wanted to let you know that the campaign has started. The Yes campaign, we won't know if it's yes on X or Q or Z or what. We won't know that until August, but it's still the Yes on Rent Control campaign is under full swing. We're doing neighborhood walks. We've done 2 Saturdays, and we're going to keep doing that all the way probably through September. Every Saturday afternoon, we're meeting at the SEIU Union Hall on Mission Street from between 10 and noon. Come by, get a packet, and go. Initially, you don't need to know all the details because we're just dropping off invitations at people's homes, not even necessarily talking to people, but just dropping literature to invite them to house parties. So we've had half a dozen house parties already. And I just want to encourage all the Bernie people who have any free time to join in on this campaign, because this is going to make a really big difference. The whole, what I see, a lot of things coming together in November. There's 3 or 4 housing measures on the ballot. We have candidates in both Watsonville and particularly in Santa Cruz for the city council, some of whom are very much supportive of rent control and some of them who are very much opposed to rent control. And so this is going to be a really important topic in the election. And I can see that there's Bernie people involved in some of the candidates' campaigns and Bernie people involved in the rent control campaign, and I can see a big coordination, a good coordination, and this is going to be a very big, important election. How many people have, how many of you have signed a petition for the rent control? Okay. How many of you circulated petitions for the rent control? Wow. Oh, that's great. That's great. And how many are you going to vote for it in November?
Okay. After all that work.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to live in the city to do that, unfortunately. Okay. And if I've inspired you at all, see me afterwards and I'll sign you up for something. Okay. Are there anybody have any announcement that you want to use the microphone for? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for coming, and we'll see you again soon.
Education, clean energy, keep this country afloat. You know he works for the people and not the billionaire. Gonna make them pay for what they grow. You gotta get ready for election day. Give Bernie Sanders your vote. Well, healthcare is done right for all, and college education too. He's a man against pollution, and give us a solution on climate change, he'll come true. You know he's fighting to raise the minimum wage, for voting rights tried and true. You know he's ready to be president. Bernie Sanders is a man for you. He's busy every day as he fights for equal pay for the people all across the land. But if he's gonna win, well, we gotta all pitch in, gonna get out and make a stand. So help him with the vote. You can donate, get a tote, you can song about him with your band. You've gotta get ready for election day. Give Bernie Sanders a hand. Give Bernie Sanders your vote. Give Bernie Sanders your vote. Give him your vote. Healthcare, education, clean energy. We're gonna keep this country afloat. You know he works for the people and not the billionaires. Gonna make them pay for what they wrote. You've gotta get ready for election day. Give Bernie Sanders your vote. Get ready for election day. Give Bernie Sanders your vote. Bernie in 2020.
Okay, we have some songbooks if you want to sing along. Oh, what a beautiful morning by Rogers and Hammerstein. I thought you were somebody else.
There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning! Oh, what a beautiful day! I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the cattle are standing like statues. All the cattle are standing like statues. They don't turn their heads as they see me ride by. But the little brown maverick is waking her eye. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. All the sounds of the earth are like music. All the sounds of the earth are like music. The breeze is so busy, it don't miss a tree. And the old weeping willow is laughing at me. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Oh, what a beautiful day.
And it is. Okay, thank you. Give me the simple life. That's what we need.
I don't believe in fretting and grieving. Why mess around with straw? I never was cut out to step and strut. Give me the simple life. Some find it pleasant, dining on pheasant. Those things roll off my mind. Just serve me tomato and mashed potatoes. Give me the simple life. Not one that's spacious and wide.
A house that rings a giant
with the ones you love inside. So you take the high road, I'll take the low road, free from the care and strife. Sounds corny and seedy, but yes, indeed. Give me the simple life. With the ones you love inside. Well, you take the high road, I'll take the low road, free from the care and strife. Sounds corny and seedy, but yes indeed, give me the simple life. Sounds corny and seedy, but yes indeed, give me the simple life.
Hey, thank you. Next up, The Garden Song by David Mallet.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Plant your rows straight and long, temper them with prayer and song. Mother Earth will make you strong if you give her love and care. Oh, grow watching hungrily from her perch in yonder tree. In my garden I'm as green as that feather thing up there. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Go, Jeffrey! Made of dreams and bones. Feel the need to grow my own, 'cause the time is close at hand. Ring for rain, sun and rain, find my way in nature's chain. To my body and my brain, to the music from the land. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless the seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down.
Red, Red Robin by Harry Woods.
When the red, red robin comes bob, bob, bobbing along, along, there'll be no more sobbing when she starts singing her own sweet song. Wake up, you sleepyhead. Get up, get up, get out of bed. Cheer up, the sun's twinkling. Love, laugh and be happy. What if I've been blue? Now I'm walking through fields of flowers. Rain may glisten, but still I listen for hours and hours. I'm just a kid again, doing what I did again, singing a song. When the red, red robin comes bob, bob, bobbing along.
Amazing how many people know that song. I guess we grew up with it. This next song, Try a Little Kindness. Very good advice. By Austin and Sapal. Made famous by Glenn Campbell. Featuring Bill on vocals. What is it, Robbie? Try a Little Kindness. It's right after Red Robin. Try after Red Robin, it should be right after. Oh, okay.
If you see your brother standing by the road with a heavy load from the easy shore, if you see your sister falling by the way, just stop and say you're going the wrong way. You got to try a little kindness, yeah, show little kindness, yeah, shine light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, then you overlook the blindness of the narrow-minded people on their narrow-minded street. Don't walk around the down and out, lend a helping hand instead of down. And the kindness that you show every day will help someone along their way. Yes, it will. You got to try a little kindness, yeah, show little kindness, yeah, shine light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, then you overlook the blindness of the narrow-minded people on their narrow-minded streets. see your sister falling by the way, just stop and say, hey, you're going wrong way. You got to try a little kindness, yeah, show a little kindness, just shine light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, then you'll overlook the blindness of the narrow-minded people on their narrow-minded street. And if you try a little kindness, then you'll overlook the blindness of the narrow-minded people on their narrow-minded
South African freedom song, and the first verse is in Zulu, but the rest of them are in English. I think you'll catch on. We are singing in the light of love. We are singing in the light of love. We are singing in the light of love. We are singing in the light. We are singing in the light. We are singing in the light of love. We are singing in the light. We are singing in the light. We are singing in the light of love. See ya hamba, see ya hamba, kuka bien cuento. 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 See ya hamba, see ya hamba, see ya hamba, kuka bien cuento. See ya hamba, see ya hamba. Okay. I guess that was one of Nelson Mandela's favorite songs we heard. Okay, next, You Are My Sunshine. Everybody knows this one by Davis and Mitchell, but I wrote a happy ending for it.
My sunshine, my only sunshine, you make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamt I held you in my arms. I was mistaken, and I held my head and cried. By my side. sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Told me once, dear, you always
might be the person who comes.
and no one else would come between. But now you left me to love another. You have shattered all my dreams. My sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
But I don't think that maintains like I don't think there's a publicly available list.
Or is there a meetup group?
Not that I'm aware of.
So that's something you should cover with Jeffrey and your board.
Yes, I'm sorry that you left me.
Yeah, I'm not.
But there's a whole wide world out there. With lots of people to relate to.
Mary would have a
Lots of beauty we can share. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Please don't take my sunshine away.
Okay, next up, the earth is our mother. Native American chant honoring those who lived here before us and still live here.
The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. Her sacred ground we walk upon. With every step we take, her sacred ground we walk upon. With every step we take. Unite, my people, be one. Unite, my people, be one. The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. Hey, yana ho, yana, hey, yan, yan. Hey, yana ho, yana, hey, yan, yan. Her sacred ground we walk upon. With every step we take, her sacred ground we walk upon. With every step we take. Unite, my people, be one. Unite, my people, be one. The earth is our mother. We must take care of her.
Yes, we must.
Where the buffalo run, where the deer and the antelope lay. Where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Home on the rain, where the deer and the antelope lay. Where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Oh, Julia land, where the bright tide is heard, a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Oh, we ain't got a barrel of money, maybe we're ragged and funny, but we travel along, singing that song, side by side. Oh, we don't know what's coming tomorrow, maybe there's trouble and sorrow, but we travel the road, sharing that love, side by side. Through all kinds of weather, what if the sky should fall? Yes, as long as we're together, it really doesn't matter at all. When they all have their troubles and parties, we'll be the same as we started. Just a traveling along, singing that song, side by side. Through all kinds of weather, what if the sky should fall? Just as long as we're together, it really doesn't matter at all. When we all have the troubles and parties, we'll be the same as we started. Just a traveling along, singing a song, side by side. Look out! Just a traveling along, singing a song, drop my worries. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. No longer in a hurry. Happiness is here and now. I have drawn